morning, guys. How are you?
Of course, doing great. And Mr. Leo Kane, Beryl Engineering and Inspections.
I am cold. This office is extra cold. There's less people in the office,
Oh my gosh.
less bodies to absorb the heat or to produce heat.
Like
and I'm freezing.
subconsciously, I just said how great it feels, and then Leo's like, I'm cold.
I'm freezing in here. I mean, we need more bodies in this office to absorb, to create heat. It's kind of like when you have a bunch of mice in a little like terrarium. They generate a lot of heat.
We'll rotate spaces, because remember I sat where you are sitting one day, and I'm like, it is colder here.
It is very cold here.
Yeah, if you switch spaces, it's not as cold. Anyway, this is Tampa Home Talk. So we have a little bit different of an hour lined up for you this morning. And we're going to talk about some of the stuff that, you know, is in the news, but a little bit different, right? So, I mean, you turn on the news, even if you have a Google phone and you're looking, or an Android phone, and you open Google, you see your cards, and all that pops up as coronavirus this, coronavirus that.
Actually, mine has all the stuff about PlayStation 5 and Xbox One
Depends
S.
on what you search, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're Leo, it's nothing about coronavirus, and it's all games.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing that happened to me this week news-wise is the PlayStation 5 reveal. Unfortunately, it was a specification reveal, so people like me who tuned in to see a picture of the new PlayStation were just bored to death with stats.
Oh, that should.
Now, Leo, are you going to buy it?
No, but it's still vague.
Now,
I don't understand how the SSD AMDs into my AMRs.
no question for you, Leo. Does it matter how it looks, or are you going to buy it anyways?
I'm going to buy it regardless, but I wish they would have just compared it to the PlayStation 4 on how much stronger it is, not try and wow me with stuff that doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, usually the geekazoids are going to be looking at that stuff first, right? People like you look at that stuff.
The funniest part was during the conference, they actually silhouetted in people in the audience, like Mystery Science Theater style, because they couldn't have actual people in the audience.
Wow. Okay, that's a whole new level of
Yeah, it was
21st century.
It was pretty funny.
All right, so if you've been listening to Tampa Home Talk for any amount of time, you know, you may not even know the original story of why I started Tampa Home Talk. And this year will be 7 years for us that we've been on the air towards the end of the year. And so when I started Tampa Home Talk back in 2013, you know, we were still in the collapse of the housing market. And, you know, we really had not even rebounded at that point.
We were at the end.
We were definitely at the end, but barely on the upswing. And it was a very slow move upward, if you remember. And, you know, at the time, every time you turned on the news, it was negative media about everybody that wasn't paying their mortgage payment and all the banks that are imploded and everything else that's happening. They were not talking about all the people that were making their mortgage payment, all the people that were still working, all the people that were still doing everything right. And so while it affected a lot of Americans, I mean, a very big percentage of Americans, our role and my role and my goal in starting Tampa Home Talk was to bring some positive news to the airwaves. And so if you listen to Tampa Home Talk, that's a lot of times why I do not include guests around politics or religion or things that are super controversial, because it's just not my style. I really want to bring some positive news to the airwaves. If you want to have those conversations with me privately off the air, I will have them all day long. Right, Leo? You and I have talked about that.
We've never talked politics.
We have a little bit.
No.
You just didn't remember. You were drinking. But anyway.
That's just anytime I'm not on the radio, I'm drinking. I mean,
so it's, you know, and we can agree to disagree. And so those are the people that I will have those conversations with. And so what I'm about to say right now might feel a little bit off, but I have to say it. And I've been saying it privately to my team for over a week now. I've been saying it to my family and some of my very close circles. And Leo, you and I have talked about this privately. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you just slow down and listen to what I'm saying all the way to the end, it will make sense. And there will be people that disagree with me, and that's okay. I understand that.
Speaking of politics, can I give my conspiracy theory on toilet paper in a couple of minutes when you're finished?
Of course you can, Leo.
It's a great conspiracy theory.
So my thought is, you know, this virus is spreading so fast that it's hard for municipalities, cities, and even countries at this point to contain this, to quarantine it, to keep it from spreading. And if you've watched any part of the news when they talk about quarantining someone, that means, like, imagine a husband and a wife. One of them has it. You're literally not sleeping in the same bed together. You are in a separate room by yourself, using a separate bathroom that is wiped down everything, every surface, every time you use it. You have no contact with the outside world, right? So unless that's happening, which I doubt it is, this virus will continue to spread.
Yeah.
And with people, like prime example, look at last weekend. It was a beautiful weekend, right? And it was spring break. So I totally understand why people were flocking to the beaches. But they were in droves because the fact that everything else was closed. And so that still defeats the purpose of what the government is trying to do. And so I've said this for over a week privately, and I'm going to say it now on the air for the first time. I feel like the government should shut everything down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at most. I know it's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. This is a Band-Aid stuck in the wound. It is not going to feel good for anybody. But the sooner we can rip that off and just quarantine ourselves with our families for a couple of weeks and stop all non-essential everything. So unless you're medical or you're delivering food, there's no reason for you to be on the road. I think we should stop that for 2 weeks, self-quarantine, and this will go away a lot faster. If we don't, this will continue longer and more widespread because this virus can sit on stuff for 2 weeks. Thoughts, Leo? He's like, nope, you're on a rant. I'm not saying nothing.
I just want to do my joke about the toilet paper. I mean,
I agree. We already last night, the governor of California put the entire state on lockdown.
Yep.
So I think the sooner we do it, the better. I'm on self-quarantine for at least another week here. So they could start at any time. I'd be fine. I'm not going anywhere anyway.
Adam, did you do that intentionally? Or, like, was that intentionally, or is that around the virus, or you just want to stay home, or what?
No, so my wife and I have both been under the weather this week, varying degrees of sickness. Unfortunately, can't go into. We don't meet the qualifications to get tested, and it's not. Well, I can take some Robitussin and I'm fine. So don't want to take up space or anything else for people that do need it. So it could be allergies, could be a common cold, but don't know. And it's safer for me and for everybody else just to stay where I'm at. I got enough food. We're fine. Working from home.
Well, Adam, this is Dr. George. This is Dr. George here.
Yeah, Dr. George.
Are you coughing a lot?
Not coughing too much.
Well, that's a good sign.
Every now and then, yes, but that's just more. It's mostly for me. It's been a runny nose.
Right, and that could be allergies too. So
it could be. A runny nose, like temperature. I take my temperature every now and then. That's been up at times, but nothing. Nothing where you're like, oh my God, gotta hop in the car and go see the doctor. Just a little higher than that.
Well, here's what I would like you to do. This is going to be your prescription. Do you have 2 bedrooms there?
No, we got a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment.
Okay, well, give your wife the bedroom, and I want you now to sleep in the bathroom for the next 7 days.
curled up in the bathtub.
What about one bathroom?
Curled up in the bathtub with the shower on, Deliverance style.
Well, we'll be fine. It's all good. But hey, I still got to do it for everybody else. So.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The more Americans are business as usual, trying to find a workaround, because that's who we are, right? As people, we're innovative. We find a way to get stuff done. We always come out on the other side of these things stronger. We just do. We're very resilient as Americans. And, it's good. It's a good quality to have. But right now, at this very moment in time, people are not taking this seriously enough. That's my thought.
Yeah, and it's a good time now to support your small businesses because those are the ones that are going to really need the help. So if you got to go out and go somewhere to eat, go to a small business where you can, and hopefully, you can stay far away from somebody like tonight where I normally go. I'm going to have to turn the music up louder because no one's getting close to me.
So, here's my thought. Some people will say, oh, you're cold, or that's callous, or how can you say just shut everything down for 2 weeks? But the fact is, people are not looking further ahead beyond this, and unless we can get ahead of this, it's going to be so much longer before we can put it behind us. And so,
well, the more we stretch it out, the worse it's going to get economically.
Right. They're already talking about a stimulus package, and we've got a bunch of key things we're going to talk about in regards to housing related and different things like that. But the fact of the matter is, give a stimulus to the people that need it most, right? Like somebody like me, I know you, Leo, we'll be fine. We'll pay our people first. We'll get through this. I know not everybody can do that. And so the government's going to give a stimulus. That's just what they do, which means more debt in our country is going to come with that. But we'll be resilient as Americans, and we really will. And I'm going to encourage you to embrace this time with your family. We'll talk about it more when we get back. This is Tampa Home Talk.
Hi.
Back. This is Leo Kane with Tampa Home Talk. My turn for a little rant about it.
Have fun with it, Leo. Knock your socks
So I have a conspiracy theory out there about toilet paper and why it's in such short demand. If you think about it, most of us, as Charmin says, enjoy the go at work. And since we're, quote unquote, enjoying the go at work, we're using their toilet paper. Now that we're all at home, we're using more toilet paper and we're panicking because we're not used to having to use just our own supplies. Pen sales are up, paper sales are up. All these things that you steal from the workplace, you can no longer steal from the workplace.
You know, that's so true because we have had less people around the station, and the entire week now we've had spoons.
See, it's just that's where we're headed, and that's why people are freaked out at home. They think they're sick, and they're using more toilet paper when in reality they're using the same amount of toilet paper, but they have to produce it all themselves.
Yeah, we're not using the work supply of stuff. Got it. Well, you know,
I never thought my joke would go over so somber.
I never know what to say about your jokes, Leo. I tell you sometimes. Adam, what do you got? Any response for that one?
He's speechless as well.
I would say it's not his best material, but, you know, it is what it is. I do agree that people are using more toilet paper at home, but I think the people that have been, you know, I saw pictures of people with like 30 gallons of milk in their cart and things that are going to go bad that just doesn't make any sense. And it's, you know, it's just like staying inside is doing your part for society. Leaving things for other people to consume is also doing your part.
Us as Floridians who evacuate and have to hunker down for hurricanes know this drill by now.
You would think so. You would think. Now, I'll tell you, I do think what this will do is you'll have a lot more people that'll keep some sort of 1 to 2 week supply of non-perishables somewhere in their house, just, you know, just in case, you know, rotate it every quarter or something to make sure it stays good. But
there's plenty of food. Like I was saying before the break, spend some extra time with your family, like play some games. For me, I mean, when I think about what would I do outside of the norm, not work so much, like literally take a nap maybe, or
naps are good. I love naps.
Play with my kids, play some video games, just spend some time with them, reading more.
Just imagine how confused your pets are. You're at home more. Your dogs don't have to be crated all day. Pets must be really confused right now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, this is also a good time to adopt a pet because now you're home with the pet and you can get it accustomed to your home. So people say, I don't have time for it right now, you know, because I'm at work all the time. But now you can go get a pet. So take something out of the shelter.
Very, very, very true. All right, so a little bit more on the housing stuff, and then we're going to pop into some inspection stuff. And Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and HUD, for that matter, has actually suspended all foreclosures and evictions. And if you don't know already, Donald Trump on Wednesday announced that HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, is suspending all foreclosures and evictions until the end of April. And so they're going to do it for at least 60 days. And so this moratorium we think is going to last through at least May. I think it will be a little bit longer. And so really it's a good move. I mean, the one thing I want people to know is if you can make the payment, pay it. Don't skip it because it doesn't go away. I mean, it's going to postpone. It'll accrue interest. There's always, you know, there. But I do like the fact that the government's taking actions to suspend these things for people in the time most of needs. And it's important. Now, if you haven't heard, Clearwater Beach, they've announced already they're closing for 2 weeks. At 6 a.m. on Monday. This is going to be into effect for basically feet in the sand, so it's not applying to businesses on Clearwater yet. I think it's coming. Or the Memorial.
I think that's starting tonight.
Is it? It was Monday last I heard.
Yeah, no, they're going to start these things, just like the big announcement from DeSantis came out the day of St. Patrick's Day to keep us out of the bars.
Yep. So, and that's the thing, like, people are not taking it seriously. So there'll be a run on the liquor stores next, right? Because people are going to be cooped up at home. So
that's where I'm heading after here.
Yeah.
I'm hitting the liquor store on the way home.
Exactly. So the other thing, too, that Trump is looking at is letting homeowners delay their mortgage payments. And so they're considering a plan basically for homeowners where their income was cut by the coronavirus for the delay of mortgage payments. So it will be, they haven't really yet decided on what the catch-up plan is going to be, but they are talking about basically letting them delay the payments. So that's good. And then also, did you see Hillsborough County Property Appraiser? They closed their office to walk-ins on the 18th.
Yeah, speaking of the counties and the cities shutting down, one of the key things that came out yesterday and the day before is Pinellas and Pasco have done it already, and we expect the rest of the municipalities to follow, is they're shutting down permit inspections if it's a single-family house. And, yeah, it's single-family house existing, not new construction, but existing. So all remodel permits, all roofing permits, all additions, pools, things of that nature, the county has basically said they're suspending permit inspections. That leaves the contractors two options. One is to stop work, and the other option is to hire a firm like ours to do what's called third-party private provider inspections. And that's where we come out and we replace the building department as the code inspector for the construction. So
it's a good viable option right now. I mean, there is still stuff closing. We are still writing new contracts. We're still signing new deals. I'm still not changing my opinion on it, that I think we should be home and self-quarantine for 2 weeks. But until the government says, hey, you're shut down, cease business, and that's the challenge, right? People are still trying to work and do business as usual.
Yeah, I mean, my contractor friends, they have a bunch of vehicles and equipment on lease. They need to make payments.
Yeah.
They're able to get supplies. They want to keep moving forward. So that's where we're, like
everybody
I said,
does. Yeah.
stepping in, and we're doing these inspections. We are not shutting down.
And school's closed till April 15th, and this is my own opinion. I don't think there's going to be school the rest of the year.
I've said that since before spring break.
Yeah, they're
not going back.
Yeah, as far as some of my friends already are been told it's the middle of May before they'll consider having them report back to work.
I feel really bad for the seniors, that it's their senior year. They were graduating. There's I have some clients that teach college. Some of them have a lot of students from other countries, and they've literally sent them home. And so they're like, what about graduation? They're like, I don't know. I have no idea what to say. So it's just an interesting time we live in. It's hard for some of the kids for sure. They've never seen anything like this in their lifetime. Oh, was that Adam?
I guess we lost.
I think we lost Adam.
All right, Adam.
We couldn't handle it anymore.
Thanks for hanging up on us there. All right. So inspections, are you guys, you're still doing home inspections?
Yeah, we're business as usual. The only thing that we've changed is our design team is now working from home. Other than that, our call center team, which is 4 people, are nice and spaced out amongst the whole area where the designers used to be. And we're doing design, we're doing inspections. Obviously, our inspectors are being safe. They're washing their hands. They're using all the precautions they need to do.
Are you guys doing any extra precautions to keep the spread of the virus at minimal?
Well, I mean, our inspectors are not going to bars and restaurants and things of that nature.
Well, that's a good start.
The standard stuff you read constantly. They wash their hands more. They try and interact less with people. A lot of times, some of our inspections, we're the only person at the house. So, I mean, in that aspect, we're not interacting with anyone as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think keeping the meetings to a minimum, right? So, like, a lot of times people want to bring out contractors or different people. I would recommend that you table those meetings for now or do them by your phone, right?
Yeah, this thing called Zoom is taking off right now. A lot of people are making these.
Sarah Quicky's on the line. She's on there.
Zoom
Adam's gone. Sarah's there.
A little bit before, you know what I mean? Like before this, their stock is probably through the roof.
Yeah, I just don't.
Pat, look up Zoom stock price.
I'll do that during the break. I've never actually used Zoom.
We use Zoom all the time.
It's a Microsoft price. Is it like? I have to figure it out by next week.
It's video conferencing. It's
like Skype or
better.
GoToMeeting.
It's more reliable. There's a chat feature on it. You can mute everybody.
That sounds like GoMeeting.
As the organizer, it does, but I just think it's better. I've worked on all those platforms, and Zoom seems to work better.
Zoom. And here we have Sarah on the line.
We do, and we're going to hold her stuff to the break, and when we come back after the break here shortly, she's going to share a little bit about what's going on with these interest rates, because it's been an interesting time, right? You've heard about the Fed slashing the rates twice, and now we're at 0%. Yeah, and so people think, I can get a mortgage for 0%. No, folks, that's actually not how that works.
I've actually heard banks are raising their rate because the demand is so high, they have to raise the rate to slow down the...
Yeah, they're absolutely raising their rates, and she's going to talk about that. It's interesting because, Myself, I closed on a property about a week ago, and it was literally one of the last ones at those lower rates before we saw a huge spike. So last week on Friday, they took a tank, and so she's going to talk about, how they just spiked a ridiculous number. So you have to think there's still a lot of people buying, and there's a ton of people trying to refinance right now.
Because the rates, that's what's luring us on, is a whole bunch of refis going on right now.
Yeah.
It's just, we should talk about what the Fed cutting the rate actually means to the consumer. It's not what people think.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that. So we'll chime in about that a lot more when we come back after the break. Sarah Crickey with Summit Mortgage, our official show partner for Tampa Home Talk, is going to be joining us right after the break to talk about what current rates are doing, where they're headed. We have an excellent point about what does that mean, which is actually not good. It means the banks are making more money, but we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes when we come back on Tampa Home Talk. If you got some more questions, you want to disagree with me, you want to thank me, I'll take all of the above. You can call or text at 813-377-2775, 813-377-2775.
Welcome back. Got exciting news. Adam is no longer on the line.
Oh, stop.
And Sarah is taking his place.
Good morning.
He just wants to talk to you, Sarah.
Good morning.
She's got very relevant information, and we have a question. I have a very, very big question. When the Fed cuts rates, what does that actually mean?
So it's a really good question, and I'm actually going to refer back to a social media post I put out earlier this week because my phone started ringing off the hook when that happened. The Fed did lower the discount rate to 0. However, the discount rate is the cost of interbank borrowing, and it has very little effect on long-term loans like mortgage rates.
So basically,
What she's saying in lay terms is the banks are getting the money for free.
But they're not going correct. It's a totally different rate than that of your standard mortgage. The discount rate is basically cut to stimulate economic growth, which would strengthen the economy and would typically result in mortgage rates increasing. In the last 2 weeks, after this, when the Fed cut rates, mortgage rates actually went up.
Sarah,
now the
can
Fed
you give us an
did,
example, like maybe a loan that you were pricing? Like what was the rate a week and a half ago, and then what was it Friday when you rechecked? Do you have one you could
sure.
share?
Yeah, I have a few. Okay, so using a very generic scenario, okay, for example, a 700 credit score borrower going 20% down in a conventional loan back on March 3rd would have brought, we were pricing interest rates in the very low 4%, 4.25%, depending on the investor. I priced that same scenario now, and the interest rate's 5.5% with an APR of 5.616. And again, everybody's different with regards to how they're going to qualify, but just to show you in that generic scenario how pricing has moved.
In that particular scenario, Sarah, where we know the banks are essentially getting the money for free, so 0% is what the government's lending it to the banks for to relend. What does that mean?
That's not impacting mortgage rates, Katrina. That's impacting short-term loans like a car note. Long-term mortgage rates do not follow the discount rate. They follow Treasury. So when the Fed made that announcement, that was for economic stimulus. But in that same announcement, they also stated they would be buying several billion in mortgage-backed securities. And that's what's going to hopefully level out our market. That's where we should start seeing some improvement to interest rate.
Now, I know they tanked on Friday of last week. Have you seen any improvement since that time? Because, it's like the stock market. People don't realize this moves every day all the time.
There are all kinds of forecasts, and it's very volatile right now. We're literally watching it on a daily basis. Again, depending on how soon in the near future the Fed, starts investing in mortgage-backed securities, we could potentially see some improvement there. But there are just a lot of moving parts. So we don't have a crystal ball.
How do you feel about that, with the Feds actually getting involved in like buying up these mortgage-backed securities? They're taking the place of, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac in some instances.
Well, it
come
should
to me. I
definitely
got
at
a
least
traffic
level out
problem on
pricing.
Howard Franklin.
I'll give you. It was such a sudden change. For example, where refinances are concerned, in a week's time, applications to refinance fell nationally 10%, which is huge over the course of a week. Now, for purchase transactions, they only fell 1%. But that's still 11% higher than 1 year ago. So it's just super volatile right now. Counseling clients are obviously calling. They're getting the notification that the Fed cut the rate and we want to get a rate reduction on their mortgage. It's not possible right now, but we're certainly, watching for everyone. We're getting multiple intraday price changes, in terms of improvements or adverse changes.
Sarah, I have a thought about that. But real quick, let Pat George just chime in about a traffic problem, and then we're going to come right back to that. Go ahead, Pat.
No problem.
Hey, thanks a lot for that. Northbound on the Howard Franklin Bridge, right at the center of the hump, looking at a picture of a big backup because a car is turned sideways. Looking southbound on the northbound lanes and big delays if you're headed toward Tampa. Thank you.
There's no cars on the
I know.
road.
I can't even believe that. I don't know I guess the interest rate freaked him out. So here's what I think people should do, but you tell me if you think this is a good idea, Sarah. If it were me, I was looking to save some money and refinance, presuming you still have a job, right? We get some people are going to lose their job. Life as we know it is going to change. But with that being said, if there's a way to refinance the home, do you think people should just make application and sit on that and wait till it makes sense to lock in that rate and close? Should they go ahead and get everything done? And when is that paperwork expiring now?
We're doing that for a lot of folks, okay? And every refinance is different. Some refinances are streamlined and documentation isn't required. For others, we have to collect a full credit package. When we pull a file into the system and we pull, for example, a credit report in, that credit report is good for 4 months. So during the process of obviously watching the market and pricing the loan, to be able to offer the best terms, time-sensitive documents like pay stubs might have to be updated every 30 days. If banking is required in the transaction, we may have to add additional documentation to the file, but we're absolutely doing that for several clients, and it does make sense to do that. That way, as soon as...
This was a bad idea, I think, for the feds to drop the rates to zero because, this is the only thing that they have. It's one of the biggest weapons they have in terms of being able to re-spark the economy and, kind of refuel, people being able to do stuff. I think it was so premature, in my opinion. I think it was just way too early.
I don't think that we've ever seen anything like this, and I think it's going to be ongoing, and not just from a rate perspective. You have to imagine, it's so volatile right now. There are some investors in warehouse lines that are actually pausing and suspending your ability to lock a loan or fund a loan right now until they can get a better assessment of what's going on in the market. From an underwriting perspective, there are going to be a lot of people who are impacted job-wise by this, and we're certainly not going to take a conservative approach with people in service, restaurant industries, and things like that. We don't want one event to impact their whole ability to ascertain homeownership. But it's going to be a problem, and we don't understand the gravity of it yet.
Breaking news. Tom Brady is officially a Buccaneer.
I wonder if you heard the earlier part of the show, Sarah, where I was saying that I feel like the feds or the government should just pretty much shut everything down for a couple weeks. Were you along for that? Were you listening?
I apologize. No, I was actually catching up on email before I called in. I understand it's the rip the Band-Aid off theory, and let's not drag this out forever. I do understand your thought process for sure.
It's a day by day by day, which is really tough. But yeah, Pat, you can share the breaking news. I'll let you have the thunder. I'm excited about it.
I want to do the thunder.
Okay, go ahead.
Pat, may I?
Yes, you may. I don't know if you know who he is, but go ahead.
I know, right?
I don't really know who he is, but I know this is like when
then why?
I talked about Star Wars or Marvel. So it's official. Everyone knows Tom Brady's done with the Patriots. Everyone knows he's been talking to the Buccaneers to come coach and head up the backup quarterback slot to train our newbies on how to be better people. And it happened. We're getting Tom Brady. This is exciting news. If we have an NFL season in August, which is now going to start in October or November or December, we're going to have Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to teach us how to do quarterbacking.
He's
we're going to have
actually
a
gonna
Super Bowl
quarterback.
team.
He's going to quarterback.
Oh, he's going to be our quarterback.
Yeah.
What happened to
Yeah, he's going to be the
He's
quarterback.
fun. Like, he had LASIK, and, so you didn't see that joke flying around the internet? That Winston saw, he got LASIK so he could see Tom Brady sign the contract. Yeah.
So where did that? Did
Free agent.
no one picked him up?
Not that I know of.
And there were a lot of people that bought tickets the other day. They, went online and got season tickets that either haven't bought them in a while. And now there was a 2-day holdup, and they were starting to get worried that it wasn't going to happen, but it's official.
This is awesome news for Tampa Bay. We have Tom Brady.
I was excited about that.
One of the most decorated officers in the NFL.
I really hope that our offensive line can protect him, because those bones are old. He's an amazing quarterback. He's going to bring some leadership, but he's not young, and our offensive line need to protect him. So our coaches on the offensive line, I'm telling you right now, if he gets hurt, it's on you for not shaping up that offensive line to make sure he's protected.
This is the best.
We got a
news
mortgage
since
for
sliced bread.
Tom Brady, Sarah?
Is he moving?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't he? Of course. He owns a place in California, obviously New England.
That's not Tampa.
I know, but I'm thinking, why wouldn't he buy here? Of course.
Rates are so good.
It'll be a long commute.
Katrina, I want you to sell him a $12 million home. Sarah, I want you to finance his $12 million home.
Listen, I was tweeting to Tom Brady 3 days ago.
I will inspect his $12 million home.
That would be pretty exciting, right? You think he would come in there and talk about it with us? Probably not.
No, he's come in our air and
He's
talk.
going to start asking you about football, and you're going to say, I don't know what that position does.
No,
I can answer some biochemical questions. Does that count?
he's the quarterback. He sits on the he sits in the huddle, and he makes the tough calls.
He sits
In
in
the
the
huddle.
huddle.
Makes the tough calls.
Wow.
He's one of the most decorated people. He's the Michael Jordan of the NFL.
This guy keeps talking. I can't wait for the next break.
What'd you say, Pat?
You keep talking like this. I can't wait for the next break.
We have picked up the Michael Phelps of the NFL, and you are saying I'm not excited enough.
We're just saying, you know a lot about a lot, but
Sports
NFL's
is
not one of them. It's pretty funny, though. You got to admit, to have Leo announce it.
I'm excited.
I didn't even know that. I was really impressed that Leo knew that Tom Brady was coming from the Patriots. I was impressed by that, I have to say.
But I'm curious, though. I mean, if he's leaving the Patriots, why wouldn't he take an announcer or a commentator gig? Or is he going to ride out the Bucs for a couple years? And then
Because
be the
he's
commentator?
pulling a Brett Favre and he still wants to play. Make no mistake, I'm excited we got him. I feel like the Patriots should have renewed him for a year.
And the world's talking like he's ancient, but he's only a year older than me.
For that job, that is a long time to play that job.
What is this, Logan's Run?
You push a pen, Leo. You're not getting tackled by 200-pound linebackers. I mean,
Push no pen. Everything click, click, click.
exactly. All right,
And
Sarah.
really, what kind of engineer do you think I am?
So on the, all right, back to the rate side. Now that I knew this was going to be a train wreck, letting you guys talk about Tom Brady coming to the Bucs. We should have saved that for the last segment. All right, Sarah, stick around, and we'll talk about, right after the break, a couple of ideas for interest rates. Let's talk about who it's still a good time to buy, and then if you've seen any changes. I'm imagining it's probably a little too early for the answer to that question, but our author number is 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. And we have somebody kind of hanging out in the other room, even though we haven't had any guests in the studio. I think I'm going to have them join us for the last segment.
Oh my.
All right, Sarah.
Rein me in, don't you? Gotta rein me in.
Stick around with us, and we'll let you wrap up any closing thoughts on the interest rates and the mortgage market. This is Tampa Home Talk. In just a moment.
Hey, can you turn that mic up?
This is Leo King, Beryl Engineering and Inspection. Sorry about that. I turned my mic down to sneeze because I'm getting a combination of hand sanitizer and cold air in my face.
Coronavirus.
He's always cold, but he sits in the coldest seat in the house.
I sit in the most comfortable chair.
All right. So Sarah, what last thoughts, recommendations do you have for our folks listening around these 0% rates as the government's touting it?
So, I mean, the thing is you shouldn't stop life as you know it. Obviously, we don't want to lock a rate in for someone right now. We're keeping a really close eye on what the market's doing for several clients. You should still go on with your life if you want to own a home and shop for a home and purchase a home. Government rates are still low. There was a time that the prevailing rate was much higher. And I wouldn't let that stop your life. But definitely it's changing times.
The ones you have in process now, did you have any warning for Friday, like for anybody that wasn't locked? Or like do you have any that are having issues right now that are wanting to close?
We get, we really keep our thumb on that. But we get intraday price alerts, whether it's an improvement or an adverse change. And so we get a little heads up on that kind of stuff. But no, we did not predict the magnitude of that and that it was going to be a snowball effect. One adverse change after another back to back to back.
Well, we're going to have Sarah Cricky on every week right about this time, around 8:30, the bottom of the hour. She's going to give you guys a real-time update on what is happening with the market, what's happening with interest rates. Sarah, thanks for the explanation, and thanks so much for joining us today. All right.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day.
Sarah Cricky with the mortgage firm, official show partner of Tampa Home Talk, and she'll be back next week to give you an update on how rates are doing. And so we had a little pop-in guest this morning. If you guys have been listening, you might remember Chris Wirt with AAAC. Leo, you weren't there because we ended up doing a pre-record, but he is known as, is it the snake guy or the alligator guy or the raccoon guy or all the above?
Yeah. He's the reason my office right now is so cold?
No, he's the one that
somebody turned the heat on when I was here.
This poor guy. Okay, somebody turned the heat on and we were in here doing a pre-record and this poor guy is like sweating profusely. There was no air on. There should have been air on that day. I don't know what happened.
She thought I was nervous.
Well, So what'd you have going on this week? Did you when I talked to you last, you were wrangling a raccoon from an attic, right?
Yeah, we've had a lot of raccoons getting into homes. We've had a lot of rats getting into homes, especially. I don't know that there's a lot more, but now that people are home, they're hearing them. So now they know that something's there because they're hearing the scratching because they're working from home.
Oh.
So before they were leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning, not getting home till 6 or 7 at night.
So have you been busier than usual because people are home hearing what's been in their home all along?
Yes and no. A lot of people also are being real reserved because they're like, well, we'll just deal with it because we're not sure if we're going back to work. So
got it.
At the same time, those animals carry viruses too. Some of them are worse than the one that we're talking about. Some of them are better than the one we're talking about. So it's just a matter of, what do you prefer?
From what I remember, your costs are really affordable to come get a critter out of the attic, right, or wherever.
Yeah, and it varies as to how many entry points and things like that. But, we just want the right thing for the animal and the right thing for that consumer.
Is there any truth? Is there any truth to the fact that now that it's drier, it hasn't been raining, they try to come into the house more to look for water?
They are looking for water, and we see a lot of the times when the biggest thing that we see is people that water their lawns a lot, like in the Tampa Palms area. The pigs come out of the swamps to eat the grubs and worms, and they're keeping that grass so moist that it's a water source for them. So because there's no water in the swamps, I mean, we were out in Tampa Palms the other night, and we were walking the swamps with our dogs, and it was just dry. There's nothing out there.
So could we hunt the pigs and skin the pigs and roast the pigs?
Well, we do catch pigs for Tampa Palms, so we do have an unlimited amount in that
barbecue?
area. We've had about 400 in the last year that we've took out of there.
What do you do? Do you
barbecue?
Yeah, do you?
Sometimes they do get used for food. Sometimes they're donated to USDA approved slaughterhouses that will actually use that meat and give it to shelters to feed the homeless.
Okay.
But it has to be an approved place that can't be
that processes
it
the way they
has
want.
to be an approved processor. It can't just be some guy like myself out there just cleaning it and taking it.
Are there any how do I want to say
raccoon hats
this?
are going to come back.
Yeah,
What?
Davy Boone,
Yeah, those
Oh
hats
my
we
Daniel
God.
brought back
Boone,
when we start hunting
Davy
for our own
Crockett.
food.
Yeah.
Are there any risks with catching like a wild boar or a pig and roasting it? I guess is there like
Trichnosis.
do they hold
Yeah.
anything or what is it?
Trichnosis. So a lot of people think you can get trichnosis from eating undercooked pork.
What is trichnosis?
It's worm or
There is worms.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of parasites in them.
But basically, it's a parasite that wild pigs develop from eating garbage. So basically, if you're getting pork from the store that's coming from a slaughterhouse, it's not going to have the trichnosis. But
Right.
if you're eating the wild boar, the wild pig that's eating garbage in the wild or from dumpsters and stuff, that's where the trichnosis can come if you don't cook it enough.
And we say from dumpsters, but it's usually people throwing trash out their back door.
So how would you know?
You don't. In some cases, it also depends on where we're catching them. If we're catching them from an area where it's basically state land butting up against a private community,
Yeah.
then you know there's a high probability that there's not a lot of trash out there.
Got it.
But if you're catching them in the middle of the city of Tampa,
The neighborhood where they're
Yeah.
eating whatever.
so
Dude,
and,
how many times have you actually caught a pig in the middle of the city of Tampa?
numerous, lots of rattlesnakes. Believe it or not, they love salt water.
I have chickens in my backyard. I mean,
Yeah.
we're basically one step away from a farm.
Yeah, I don't even know how it's possible in Ybor City, but yeah.
They're just roaming free there. Same with Zephyr Hills. The chickens are everywhere. And for people that don't think that you can get a disease from that, I mean,
I don't remember seeing chickens all
It
over
was
Zephyr
called-
Hills.
In 2009, it was called the avian flu for a reason.
Well,
Pick it up from birds.
yeah.
well, COVID actually came from bats. So I mean, there's bat guano. We deal with bats consistently, but April 15th, anybody that doesn't act fast that has bats after April 15th, those bats have to stay in your house, in your attic, until August 15th because that's their baby season. That's when they're giving birth. So they
So-
cannot be excluded from your home.
So
You're
if you're
stuck with
in
them.
your attic, you have to keep them in there during
Correct,
the
because the babies can't fly and they're federally protected.
I actually like bats. Bats eat mosquitoes. It's one of the best forms of mosquito repellent
Yes.
out there is to have bats in bat box.
So, real quick, one final thought on the COVID-19. Did you know that certain blood types are more prone to get it?
And I'm O positive, so
Like,
I am not.
O is the least, and A is
Anybody that's
the
AB
highest.
negative, A positive, that's definitely an issue.
I'm A positive, but I think I'm okay. So,
But that also goes with other flus and other viruses.
all right. Well, this is Tampa Home Talk. Stick around. This has been hour number 1. When we come back, we've got a really exciting topic lined up for you. We're going to talk about eminent domain. If you don't know what that is, stick around. We're going to tell you in the 9 o'clock hour right here on Tampa Home Talk.